Okay, so this is the meeting, October 3rd, 2019, meeting of the Affordable Housing Trust. Called to order here at 6:39?
6:37.
6:37, yeah, great. And do we need to do roll call or are we good?
No, we're good.
Great. Okay, so we have meeting minutes of August 1st, 2019. Anyone have a chance to review those?
Make a
Okay.
motion to approve.
All right, second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
And then
What
the
about these
executive session, we need a motion and a second to approve, and then a motion and second to release.
okay. Were those on your email?
They were.
Yeah, okay. And I think I saw them from the did you send them before? I think you did for the September.
Yeah, so the August one went out last Thursday. No, that's not true. The
thought you-
August and both July meeting minutes went out Tuesday, I think. I emailed them on Tuesday.
Yes, okay,
Everything all together.
Yeah.
okay.
And then the other materials went out Thursday, the week before. But
Okay.
the minutes went out on Tuesday, all three
Okay.
sets.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second? I'll second it. Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to
And
make a
then
motion
release.
to release.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. And that was for
So-
July 2nd?
Yep.
So motion to approve the July 9th, 2019 executive session minutes.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I make a motion to release.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, great.
Thank you. They've been hanging over my head for like 2
Oh, I
months
bet,
now.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like,
Okay, so 10 Electric Ave. Give us an update on that.
yes, not a ton of updates. One thing was, it's a small parcel, so Habitat needed a place to actually stage their construction equipment and a little storage box. So there is a town-owned parcel, like 2 parcels down, also on Electric. It's at,
Mm.
the address I think is number 4 Electric. And if you know the area at all, there's like an old like little hunting cabin kind of falling down in the middle of it. You'll see it on the left as you go in Electric Ave. It's a town-owned parcel, and so I talked to the conservation agent and the planning director, and there's no concerns about using it, so long as they're not doing a lot of site disturbance and stay in front of the like shed or cabin. So we've got a license agreement. They've signed it, PDF'd it back, and the hard copy will show up in the mail momentarily for the town administrator to sign it, and then they're all good to go to just use the front half of that town parcel to stage all the stuff for work at Town Electric.
So question,
Yeah.
is that parcel ever gonna become available?
Not that parcel. It's super small. A topic for a future meeting is there is another parcel on Electric Ave which is in tax title. So I've talked to the town treasurer, and she's talking to their attorney about, like, is there any way to sort of like expedite this process? Because we may in fact be interested in owning it.
You know how big that one is?
Bigger than 10 Electric,
Okay.
I think, or it's about that size. I mean, it's feasible. So it's
Hmm.
something to think about. You know, further updates as events warrant.
Okay,
And they'll start their site clearing and foundation work soon. When I spoke to them 2 weeks ago, they said that next week, meaning last week, they were going to have a meeting, would likely select their participating family partner. So I've not gotten an update if they have done that, but I suspect they already have. Their lottery, I think, closed in June. They were reviewing applications. So they probably have identified someone at this point.
Hmm.
And then my other
Okay.
thing, make a note. One good thing about doing my little meeting bullet points is I can then turn them into minutes because they're already typed up. As long as no one else has to read it. Thanks.
Okay, 300 Foundry Street, group housing, an update.
Progress is being made. So BAMC went through several different attorneys. They've finally landed on the one we're dealing with. There is a draft deed that looks to be in good shape. We are expecting in the next day or two a motion and vote for the select board to authorize a signatory for all documents for the closing, because apparently since it's a new entity, there needs to be another vote authorizing signature authority. And they should do that at their October 22nd meeting. That's what we're aiming for. So there is in fact progress.
Okay.
On the permitting side, you may recall from the last meeting, there was a question from BAMC and Global Property about, what sort of fees the town could waive. And one thing we're doing is the Affordable Housing Trust is going to be the nominal applicant for a number of things. So as a town entity, that's a thing we can do since we're sponsoring it. And also with the Wetlands and Conservation Commission items, this is maybe a little arcane for folks, but you're proposing work, you have your site engineer, tell you what's going on, then the town contracts with their own site engineer as peer review to review what you're proposing. And that is a often hefty fee that the applicant has to pay. So the town's conservation agent is essentially acting as the peer review. So she's going out there when their site engineer is doing things. She's going on the site walk so that the town does not need to have them pay for a peer review. So if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And she was out there about 2-3 weeks ago. The immediate thing that they need to do is it's natural heritage and endangered species habitat. And so to do significant work, you have to go through the state's natural heritage endangered species program to get them to approve of the work you're doing. It's a process you have to do. And you may remember, actually some of you may not because you weren't part of the trust at that point, but you guys may remember back when the town was trying to sell it off for development, maybe 10 years ago, Natural Heritage came down and did a site walk and opined that yes, in fact, the upland area is developable. That's not an official document from them, but they're basically their head person came down and was like, yeah, it's a doable thing. So we're not and that's another reason we actually went forward with this.
Did they put that in writing?
We have notes and very old emails. So none of that is in any way binding. You have to go through the whole application process and so on, but as an indicator, yeah,
That was 10 years ago.
It was 10 years ago, but it's a thing you can do.
Is that person still around?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. Yes. So that is the immediate thing that BAMC needs to do is get that decision or determination from Natural Heritage, so that the Conservation Commission can then I forget what the term of art is for that. Approve for it to happen.
What's the endangered species that's out there?
There are two. And they're the standard ones. Standard. If you do spotted salamanders and turtles.
Turtles, right.
Turtles and salamanders are out there. Yep. So things are happening. There is movement, not as rapid as we want, but actual things happening.
Okay,
So,
good.
You know, groundbreaking, I should say, this year, it'd probably be next year.
does seem unlikely, doesn't it? Never say never, but
I know,
I'd be surprised.
as would I.
Okay, 26 Quanticut, update.
Just today, we got a revised purchase and sale and a buyer rider from town council this afternoon. Yes, I had my notes all written up, and then it finally came over, and I'm like, okay, I can change them. I've been like every other day, and escalating by the number of people I copy. You know, higher up the, you know, it's like, hi. The next day, a couple people higher up the hierarchy are copied. So that seems to have shaken it loose. And then my question back was for him to confirm that we can still get in before the closing to do some due diligence. And the big thing that I'm thinking of is we want to get in and test for asbestos, because if there is asbestos, then that changes how you do the demolition and disposal. So it's something we need to know as we move forward with demolition, and it sort of changes the calculus. And I also asked him to confirm that he will now work on finalizing the edited purchase and sale and the buyer rider with the Housing Authority's attorney, a fellow in Sharon, who we've actually worked with before on when we bought the Eisenhower, 3 Eisenhower property. Actually, he was the attorney,
Okay.
curiously, just as a coincidence. To finalize all that so that Nikki and whoever from the Housing Authority can in fact sign the purchase and sale agreement. And I don't know if that would be the executive director or the chair of the Housing Authority's board. I forget how they would have to do that, but
Probably the chair.
yeah. So I found that very encouraging. Because, and I know the Housing Authority is eager to actually get the purchase and sale to move to the closing so they can have the money so that they can in fact buy something as a replacement unit.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to the executive director and Kathy Steiger, and she said that the state is still saying that they can repurpose the HILAP grant for this, and you don't know anything different about that? Still seems the same?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So the,
And we're meeting on the 15th,
oh, cool.
so if this thing is there, then
That would be
that
nice.
would be good.
What was the appraisal? Did we do appraise?
Oh, we actually, no, we
the
still
minutes.
need to do that.
We haven't, okay.
Good point, haven't done the appraisal
Oh, okay.
yet. And we need to get the Board of Selectmen
Right, I was gonna ask.
to vote,
Yeah,
so,
and they can just, it's a board vote, it's not town meeting or,
correct,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, but the Board of Selectmen have to approve the housing, the Affordable Housing Trust's acquisition of property.
okay, yeah,
So we would go to them with the purchase and sale, the appraisal,
got it.
and, you know,
Okay.
intent, and it's like, hi, and I would fully expect them to say,
Okay.
but, you know, get it
Yeah.
on their calendar. Select board vote. Yeah,
Okay,
and then,
great.
yeah, and then the hope would be, cause we still have the $180,000, commitment to, you know, towards this, you know, replacement unit or something, you may
Yeah.
remember.
To construction, like that would, is that what that would, or,
Well,
Whatever it is.
so I think the way it would play out is not all of that would be needed because you'd have the purchase price for it, you'd have
Mhm.
the state grant, so it's like 235 plus 165 brings you to 400. At 180, you're up to 580. So I would sincerely hope that there could be a 3-bedroom house for 500 or less that Yeah, so therefore, not all of the trust's money would be needed for that. Which then would give us a little more cushion for other things down the line. So that is how I would hope that would play out. And I think the state is kind of like, well, you don't really need all of ours, and so, it's like a little dance back and forth.
Very typical state.
Yes, and given how our funding is becoming increasingly tight, that's how I think we should play it out. And I don't know what sort of, if we would need any revision to our vote or commitment, but my hope would be that once we get the purchase and sale and we close, and the housing authority has the money from the Paquonicket sale and the state grant, that'll give them enough to go out and say, okay, we're purchasing this property for this amount, state, make it available. And then if it's, like 20 grand more, it's like, for trust, it's like, absolutely. But, I would like our final decision or our final amount to be predicated on the state. Should they in fact commit? My humble opinion. Yeah.
Okay. 3 Eisenhower.
Um,
So is this a debrief, like it's all done, we're kind of looking at?
Essentially, yeah, and do we want to do that now? We can do it at a future,
Well, I was thinking we could wait till Nikki.
we could
gets
wait
here.
for Nikki, or we could wait for a future meeting. I don't think it's critical for us to do it.
Yeah,
I sent around the current financials, which I think folks got. It looks like this is a 7 meg PDF. And I tried to put little breadcrumbs through it, because I find reading these things a little challenging. And there are these accounting software artifacts that happily keep adding an amount from one year to the next. So it's like, no, it's not $737,000. So the town accountant, if you have it in color, her notes are in blue, and then I wrote my interpretation in pencil. So the, if folks, we can defer this to a future meeting, but very briefly on this, after the sale, we've got, 100, the resale for 160 brought in 154, 121.78. That's the final payment to the broker, final water bill, and we had to record documents at the registry. Not the deed itself, but documents ahead of that, like votes and stuff.
Yep.
So minus those amounts, our net proceeds from the resale are 154. And then our total expenses, and they're all sort of laid out on the subsequent several sheets, with some edits in there. But our total expenses were about $388,789. So, 389,000 for total expenses. And then after the resale, our net investment so far is about 235,000. Plus a year and a half of time and effort. We should be getting, there's an outstanding refund on the insurance, and I do not know how much that will be. It'll probably be nominal, a grand or two. I don't expect it to be very much at all. For liability insurance, you may remember you have to buy it in 6-month increments, and they keep at least half no matter what.
right.
And then based on how much you don't need, they refund some prorated amount.
Yeah.
So, so I'm expecting like a grand or two. So we can sort of, maybe talk about, how the project went, lessons learned.
Yeah,
We can do that, at a future date, or we can do that now.
I think we should do it either at a future date or when Nikki gets here. 'Cause she
Okay.
was, very much involved in it with the
Yeah.
contractors and everything.
And then it depends on, how late people want to stay.
Right. We'll let's revisit it. at the
Yeah.
end. Okay, so Morse Road lot.
Actually, before we get there, I also
Yeah.
wanted to update folks, because this is a little bit germane. So we have the Home Buyer Assistance Grant Program. We currently, and this is pretty accurate, is what we actually have in funds. We've got 99,800, so basically we have $100,000 still in the Home Buyer Assistance Grant Program. We have two live applications that I've not done a full analysis of, but they look quite eligible. Once I dig into it, that may or may not be true, but they certainly seem very viable. Our full grant amount is $95,000. It's 35% of the purchase price up to $95,000. As a practical matter, that's not going to happen because you're not going to get because that happens when you buy like a $300,000 single family house. That's not happening in this market. So the grants, if they both happen, are probably going to be in the $70,000 to $75,000 range. So if they both happen, then we're looking at like 140, but we've only got 100, so we need to shift 40 over. We don't have to do that now, but it's something to keep in mind, looking at all the balances we have. And something I do want to do, or I'm going to do, I just wanted to run it by you guys first, is I want to put up a notice on the town website on the application, and also let MCO Housing Services know, because she advertises it over there, that we're not accepting applications at the moment, because if we get a third one, we're out of money, like totally out of money. So I want to, I don't want to suspend it, obviously, it's a great program, but until our finances shake out a little bit, I'd like to, see where we sit. Because we're this close to being overextended. And I mean, theoretically, people can apply and we can always just say no, but
Yeah, who wants to go through
It's a
that?
courtesy.
Right.
it's a courtesy, and it's a lot of work for people.
Right.
And, I'd like to sort of signal it early on.
Yeah.
Right. So not accepting at this time.
Yeah, until next year or something, or next fiscal year, or give people an update on that. And historically, we've only really gotten like a viable grant, maybe one every year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's 2 in 12 months.
When was the last one? Was it last winter?
No, June
Oh, it was
this
June,
year. Yeah, we
okay.
did one in
Yeah,
June,
okay.
and then before that, it was like more than a year before that.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Let's say one did show up, another one.
yeah,
We could go back to CPC and ask for funding.
we could.
Just a thought.
Yeah, there's a long time until the next fiscal year, so
Yeah.
We don't have to shut
cross
it
that
down.
bridge when we get there, if we get there.
In the meantime, I'm assuming it's broadly okay if I just put a no longer accepting applications, or do we want to just like keep having them roll in? Which I'm a little uncomfortable
I'm
with.
thinking it's gonna quiet right down, because the real estate market usually dives at about
Yeah.
this point in time, till the
Yeah.
holidays.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
hey everyone, sorry, sorry for you. It's just everyday thing for me. Where were we?
We're talking
Yeah.
about the Home Buyer Assistance Grant Program, and
Right.
it's kind of oversubscribed at the moment.
Okay,
If they both come to fruition.
They seem viable.
I hate to shut down the program. I don't even wanna put anything out there that says we're not accepting.
forever?
No, it was just gonna be on a, kinda like a hiatus, but I'm thinking, leave it open, if anybody comes in with it, we go ask for the money.
That's it. Or, what about I was thinking, how long is the turnaround process before we would,
have to front the money?
Anywhere from 2 to 4 months.
Okay.
So that's another good point too, like if it does tip, we have the two, say they go through, we handle that, it quiets down around the holidays, say something comes to us like that March, April, May, spring, might work out all right if there's that turnaround time.
Maybe. Because we're not getting any more money from CPA until town meeting, so not until July 1 of next year.
Oh, wow.
That's what
And
I
if
was saying
we-
when you said fiscal year.
Yeah, and if someone came to us, next month or so, the CPC meets in February. Like, are we in the window where we could go to them and ask? We are, right?
I think they'll
Can
meet
you go
again
in-
before February.
Well, they've been meeting
Isn't it
every.
usually once a week, once
Like-
a year?
They've
No,
been
no,
meeting.
we
No,
meet with them.
CPC,
Yes.
We meet with.
Yeah, oh yeah, but they
They meet
take
regularly.
applications all
in
the time.
November usually.
Yeah.
And they may not be doing applications this year.
All right, I saw that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
They're rethinking Community Preservation Act in Easton and
Mm.
priorities, and
Yeah.
so.
How will we be funded if they don't do that?
That is a good question.
That's-
Pot of gold, leprechaun.
Presumably, we could ask for our appropriation, or certainly our, 140,000 a year, the 10% set aside,
Mm-hmm.
so whatever that would be.
Okay. What about the money from Eisenhower?
We maybe put a pin in this and come back to it after the Morse Road lot discussion, because this kind of, and that's why I wanted to bring this up here to sort of,
Yeah.
set the picture.
Perfect.
Because the take home is we can actually do absolutely everything with, I'm pretty sure, with no changes and have a little bit left. But that'll be predicated on our conversation about the Morse Road lot. And,
Okay, let's head to Morse Road.
and I found something else to print out for people. I made 5 copies. We'll share. You've got some. And I can send 3 up that end. And this is just something a little bit extra from the maps I sent around earlier.
Can we each have our own up here, or we?
You can have your own up there, yep, and then we can share down here. It's not massively different from the stuff you've already seen in the packet emailed around. So there's Chapter 61. So you have real estate, you're assessed real estate taxes. They're based on highest and best use, which is usually as a subdivision, as buildable land. However, for farms or recreation or forestry, that's a really expensive tax burden for something that doesn't generate that kind of money. So Chapter 61 exists as a very low real estate tax for properties that are in agriculture or recreation or forestry. Under Chapter 61, when a property comes out of Chapter 61, the town has a right of first refusal. So they can buy that Chapter 61 property. It's a 120-day window from when you're notified. And the way you're notified is a letter to the town with a signed purchase and sale agreement. And the purchase and sale agreement, of course, is the price being paid for the property. And it has to be no special conditions, not like assuming a rezoning or, it's,
As is.
yeah. So on September 5th, The town was notified of a purchase and sale agreement for 2 frontage lots currently in Chapter 61 on Morse Road. There's the Morse Cranberry Bogs that run from Purchase in the north down to Morse and Foundry in the south. It's basically down near where the Votech is, if this rings any, okay. So what they, so a couple of months ago, they created an estate lot, which is basically what they really did was created 2 frontage lots. So the estate lot is everything behind. They created 2 A&R frontage lots of an acre each on Morse Road. They have a purchase and sale agreement from one entity of the company to a different entity for $220,000 per lot, so $440. They're both 1 acre plus lots, dry upland, fully compliant with zoning, frontage. The trust has enough money to cover all of its obligations as discussed, to buy one of the lots for $220, plus some carrying costs and this would be a similar scenario as a nonprofit developer builds, 1 or 2 units of housing. But we don't have enough for both. Went to the Community Preservation Committee last week, asking if they would be interested in recommending a warrant at special town meeting on November 12th for the $440,000 to buy the 2 development lots for affordable housing. CPC was not interested, and did not recommend that. So that's not going to happen. So the question is,
Curious, what was their reasoning? Did they give you any?
it was all over the map. There were various reasons. They, not really, no. There are a number of reasons. I would encourage folks to watch the video but we have enough to conceivably buy one and make a grant and still meet everything else without changing anything that we're doing or anticipating. So the question is, would we be interested in writing a letter, possibly voting to write a letter, asking the Board of Selectmen to exercise their right of first refusal on one of the parcels, and buy it with the $220,000 we have in available funds, of course, subject to appraisal and so forth. The most readily developable parcel is called Parcel B. It's 10 Morse Road. That's a little map I sent around. It's been perked, really good perk test. They've even got like a filed plan with the Board of Health for the septic and the layout. All the development would be outside the 100-foot buffer area to the wetlands behind. For a single-family house, less than 3,000 square foot footprint, natural heritage endangered species doesn't apply. And I think one could make a very strong case that a 2-family with a similar septic, both total less than 3,000 square foot footprint, would be a similar situation. That's something to test out, but it's very valid and has been done in the past. But as a matter of course, 1 family is definitely buildable. There's a water main on Morse Road. And it is an eminently developable parcel with great perks, public water, no wetlands constraints, no real wetlands constraints. Again, over an acre for $220,000.
This is across from the Votech, and it's that road that kind of.
Yeah, it's back by the cemetery. There's a little cemetery back there.
Okay.
I'm trying to.
There's
pull
houses.
it up.
I mean, there's other houses.
There are.
Like, is it off Boundary?
Runs parallel.
Yeah, it's like
Splits
kinda-
off and then runs parallel and then
Yeah.
comes back
Like
in.
before Maplewood?
Yeah.
Or before the Votech or after the Votech?
It's right
Across
the
from.
street.
You never
Yeah.
see it because it's like
Kinda
it's
goes on.
like a bow.
Yeah.
And actually, the water main runs down it, not Foundry in that stretch.
And now it's off just Morse, it doesn't abut Foundry, or is it like down there a little bit? Or is it?
It's,
I
do we
see
have?
Foundry on that.
Yeah, this map is little, but the stuff I sent out earlier had a context map.
There you go.
Oh, yeah,
That's Foundry.
this guy,
I see.
yeah,
And so where's a lot of these right here?
yeah,
Nice lot.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's this green, I assume, right?
Is the cemetery,
Oh,
yeah.
that's the cemetery, okay.
Yeah.
And this was just, it was either agriculture, recreate, what was it then?
Ag 61A,
Yeah.
the
Okay,
bogs,
but nothing
yeah.
was on it or?
It's
it wasn't
undeveloped, there's
being-
nothing there, it's woods.
Yeah,
And, you know, they got the perk test. I talked to Board of Health and, quote, "It perks like a champ," unquote. It's the best perk they've ever seen. They didn't even find groundwater down there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who else
Yeah.
would be interested in this? Other developers, obviously?
Oh, every developer in the world, absolutely, yeah.
Do we need to go, if we're gonna talk about this, should we be in executive session?
I don't know that we do, in that it's not a negotiation. You know, it's 220 grand is the purchase and sale. It's a potential purchase.
But,
Are there cons to the fact that we can only buy one?
yeah,
I don't think so.
Both zoned for housing, obviously.
Yeah, residential.
and then, and what are you envisioning? One house or multiple homes?
I would envision
Multiple
it
unit.
as, put out an RFP for a nonprofit developer to build one or two, units of permanently affordable family housing. Meaning, you know, you go for a duplex, and if you don't get it, you definitely have a single family. As a comp, if people look at 165 Rockland, if you know that property, it's a two-family, that was just built. It's a parcel, I think, a little smaller than this, and it got the special permit from the planning board, no problem. And there are like two capes next to each other. This is next to what's going to be a local historic district. There's some very handsome and significant buildings along there. So I think the RFP should go out, I mean, if this ever happens, you know, requiring good quality materials like, you know, hardy plank and, you know, good design so it fits in. But if you look at 165 Rockland, you'll see it's like two capes. Yeah. And the septic would be pretty simple. You know, as I said, it perked. Instead of you'd have to increase the tank to 2,000 gallons, and a slightly larger leach field if you had, like, you know, 6 bedrooms. But it's a very doable thing. It's what they did at 165 Rockland.
Should we crunch the numbers to make sure?
Yeah, I mean, what's sort of, I would sort of like us to have a clear sense, because we need to let the select board know what the thinking
Yeah,
is.
As in, the 120 days have already started to toll?
As of
on
September
September
5, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so we're 1 month in.
And then we, you know, sort of need to get on their agenda with a lot of lead time for them to consider things. And we could certainly do a special meeting in a week or something if people wanted to.
Yeah, I kind of want to watch the is it CPC meeting? Discussion about it? CPA?
But,
CPC.
yeah.
CPC, right? Not CPA.
But one important thing is, I'm not here,
Oh,
so you don't have me for like the last 2 weeks of October.
okay.
So whatever happens in the next week and a half or not until November.
Mhm. And then, even the beginning of November, we're at like 60 days out of the 120.
I
Right.
think. But I would definitely want to give the select board an indication, because they can at any time just decide to waive it.
Right.
I think we should jump.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity. But so there's no actual commitment when we tell them to hold it, or like, what's the commitment level of proceeding?
So town council is here on Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
and I am going to meet with them and ask the exact process. As I understand it, the trust could write a letter to the select board asking the select board to exercise their right of first refusal for this parcel. The Affordable Housing Trust would like to purchase it for $220,000, subject to appraisal, confirmation, to create 1 or 2 units of affordable housing.
Okay.
And the select board can or cannot, they could say, no thanks, we're gonna waive it anyway. They could say, okay, fine. But I think that's the process. And then from that, it would play out until, where are the steps to actually get all the documents in order.
Issuing an RFP for,
Well, we'd actually have to buy the thing.
Well, no,
And
right,
then-
buy it, but then
Yeah.
it's, right.
Yeah, and then put out an RFP, similar to what we've done for a couple of other parcels recently.
Right.
Yeah.
So that would be, we'd have 10 electric, 300 foundry, 26 Quanticut. So, 4 projects going. For Eisenhower's done. The others are pretty well.
I know, I'm not sure, electric will be low
Right.
level lifting from
Right.
now on, right? So would be just a little bit behind 26 Quanticut on this. They'd be tailing each other.
And 300
Mhm.
Foundry is always, will always be with us, I think.
That has
for-
an asterisk on it in my head. Yeah,
True with
yeah. We don't know where that's gonna land. But I, in my opinion, I like it better than looking at purchasing another house and dealing with the vast unknown of the repairs and the holding. This seems like it's a perfect buildable lot. Would be pretty easy. Easier than Quanticut, right? I mean,
Or electric, yeah, probably the easiest one to actually build something on.
yeah, well, definitely easier than electric, wouldn't that,
Yeah.
to have two
Yeah.
two parcels put together, but. What-
Can I see that? They're that.
Oh, yeah, Nikki's thing in color?
Down there?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can take this
I
one,
just
thing. I
wanted to
printed out
see-
two by accident.
Thank you. Okay, this is.
And I think we'd want to make sure
easy.
it's a good quality construction as well, given the historic significance of the neighborhood, and,
Yeah,
you don't want to,
Right.
You just build them that in the RFP.
yeah.
Well, I'm intrigued by what the CPC said, but, I also
too.
understand the time constraints. Can you elaborate at all, or you? Is it really just?
There was, I think, some misunderstanding from certain CPC members as to the developability of the parcels.
When was their meeting? Just a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
Last week.
Last
Yeah,
week?
I think, yeah,
Yeah,
2 weeks ago, yeah. And it's hard to know when you're bringing something to a board or committee, what information you need to provide up front. So I did not have some things ready to talk about.
That they asked
that they asked about. Yeah, always. They also didn't know how much money they themselves had in reserve as the CPC. And I didn't know that number. They thought the purchase price was too high at $220
More than an acre?
for more than an acre of developable land, given that all the comps we've seen are $230 and above
Yeah.
for undersized lots.
It's off a main road.
Yeah. So there were different opinions and several very quiet members who didn't speak at all. But they decided not to sponsor it for the warrant on the 12th.
Now, it's November 12th?
Yeah, we've got, and further down on my little thing is like all the important meetings coming up that I'm sure everyone's aware of.
Yeah, I don't know how you're gonna get people at November 12th.
That was one of the things I was thinking by
Jump into mine right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Jeez, after all these other things we're doing.
Yeah, so we've got there's a, so skipping ahead, we'll come back to it as an actual agenda thing I've got on here, but so the CPA is doing a public priority meeting on Thursday, October 24th at 7 at Frothingham. And this is meant to be what are the town's priorities for CPA funding. And I would strongly encourage anyone who is able to attend and talk about the importance of community housing. There will also be a Facebook Live component to it, and I think it's important to have that as a priority for the CPC.
What's that date again?
October 24,
And what time?
Thursday, October 24 at 7, from 7 to 8 at Frothingham.
Literally 2 days after the special town meeting.
No.
Yeah.
No?
Is it
28th is.
28th.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, excuse me.
Then
4 days before, I mean.
we have a
Saturday.
special town meeting Monday, October 28 at 7 at Stonehill.
Yes.
I must have something else on the 22nd.
Then we have the town election on Tuesday, November
Hopefully.
5th.
Hopefully.
That's the biggie.
It's a
I think the
Thursday.
28th
First
is
date's the
the
biggie,
Yeah.
2/3, right?
right?
Yep.
And then the special town meeting for everything else on
They're keeping
Tuesday,
that under
November 12th.
wraps, and that's probably good.
Yeah.
It's gonna so if we could put, I know I'm not in charge, but if that could get pushed away, I think that's gonna make everybody in a dither and maybe not come on the 28th. Ooh, I didn't know they were that close together.
I'm with you on the anxiety.
Just
So we have a special town meeting on the 28th and a regular town meeting on
And a
the one,
And
there's
a
usually
regular
one
special
in the
town-
fall,
there's usually a
regular
special town
I'm just
meeting,
thinking
yeah.
this year in this situation,
yeah,
So what's the one on the 12th about?
everything else that you
Everything
usually
else.
do.
Because they know that
It's
the one on the
usually
28th
this.
is just gonna be all school,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
and that's at Stonehill.
Yes.
Yes. And then the one on the 12th is at the high school,
And the CPC one, is that?
Frothingham.
Frothingham, you said.
Yeah.
It's funny they put down 7 to 8.
I know.
That cracks me up.
For the CPC meeting at Frothingham.
It's like, that's it, 8 o'clock around here. We don't want to hear from.
And
Do we
maybe,
need to put anything formal together, do you think?
I don't think so, and again, I'm not here,
Mm.
so
Have fun.
go forth and prosper. But I think it is very important that there be a number of voices talking about a number of priorities. Because often folks don't participate in this sort of thing, but quite legitimately, this is the public input meeting on what are CPA priorities for the town.
Yeah.
So the entire CPC committee will be there.
Yes.
Is there even an option to opt out of the housing 10%?
No.
There
No.
isn't, right?
No,
That's-
state
That's
law.
statute, right,
State law.
so, okay.
40B?
No, the CPC.
CPA, the CPA enabling legislation.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right, the 10% for our funding, housing funding.
Yeah, it's 10%, 10%, 10%,
Yeah.
and then the other 70% among whatever.
Yeah, okay.
But you've got to do 10 for historic preservation, 10 for housing,
Yeah,
And for
10
open
for
space.
open space.
Okay.
Slash
Yeah.
What
recreation.
are we doing
Those
for the
are
other
set.
70%? That's kind of
Yeah,
the,
That's sort of on top of
Yeah.
the 7
Right.
to 8.
yeah, yeah.
So what about the other millions that they sit on?
Legitimately, there are significant open space parcels that may come into play at any time. And they've been longstanding priorities for the town for a couple of decades. And that's actually a legit thing.
Yes,
They're
it
big
is
and very
legit.
expensive, yeah.
Affordable housing is legit as well.
So the idea of open space purchases should include a affordable housing component. It's something we've talked about, it's in our plan. That sounds like a really great bullet point for the conversation on the 24th.
Just jump it.
Yeah, because I know folks have brought that up here as board members and are planning.
Do you have any talking points from previous things that you could throw over to us by email, so if we show up, we've got something in hand?
I don't. I can try to scramble something together if that's helpful.
Or just the general value
Yeah.
of affordable housing in general.
Or, well, just,
Or like bullet points from
Yeah.
our action plan.
action plan.
yeah.
Yeah. Like like when we said last time to the CBA,
Yeah.
I mean CBC. What's the Facebook Live component?
I don't know. I'm actually not on Facebook because I'm 8
Interesting.
million years old and I'm a
Sorry,
cranky old
who's doing
man.
Facebook Live?
Wait, what is this about?
He said there's a Facebook Live component to the CBA meeting. Is
Oh,
this
so that
CBC
means you
meeting or
can
the CBA?
participate.
It's the
Through
CPC
CPA
meetings
for
about
money.
CPA.
Community Preservation Act,
Act.
Community Preservation Committee,
Committee.
yeah,
So
so it's
these
CPA.
people-
We all do
How many
it.
people
We all
are
do.
putting it on Facebook Live, that meeting?
One can participate via Facebook Live at that meeting.
Oh,
That is
that'll
the
be
plan.
interesting.
Very.
And
I didn't even know that was like
and the intent of that
I
is
don't know if that's acceptable.
getting, it is.
One that there's been opinions on it, right?
Oh, yes.
Yes,
It-
yeah.
it-
We wouldn't have.
yeah, you would not be hearing
Yeah,
about
doing
this if
that,
it
yeah.
hadn't been vetted. It's a thing.
Vetted.
But
How will the Facebook Live work? Will it be little hearts going up or
Yeah.
whatever they do on them?
Yeah.
it's
How about
basically
big
I
thumbs
Thumbs
down?
down.
you
I think what
you at
comments
home
and
can
ask
actually
questions.
like be
Right.
living your life, watching your toddler. It's up on Facebook. You can
Or
comment.
ask questions.
And there's probably not going to be a lot of opportunity for them to respond to questions because they'll be coming in. But you can definitely, you can see how it goes and put in your comments. So it's a way to participate and comment.
Sounds like
Um,
a way to just gossip.
Yeah.
Well, and that is one of the things they're sort of testing
You're not
out.
gonna get that response, so.
There's a strong interest among various folks on, let's use more social media in our engagement about these issues. And then there's also a concern that we need to make sure it doesn't turn into a rant fest
Mhm.
with people,
Not thinking
trolling
from
and
the
getting,
top.
yeah, so that's why it's probably going to be mostly for people to, watch and see and comment. And then I think and they will have folks monitoring it as it comes in.
Yeah, I would hope so.
And if there's actual, meaningful questions, that it's useful to in fact answer.
I think it will raise awareness of
Yeah,
it.
and that is exactly, that's a
Good
big,
idea.
that's really what's going on with
Yeah.
that. It's like trying to get people to this is a big deal and the town generates a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah.
And what's the town's priorities?
Right, instead of just complaining about it after it's done.
Complain about it while it's happening.
So we've skipped ahead a bit to the meetings, I apologize.
It's all right.
Okay, that was.
So we're back to Morse Road.
Didn't we say there were 2 properties on Morse and we were
Yes.
going to
We
choose
can
one
only
of them?
afford one.
Have we only looked at one?
We're gonna.
There-
Yes.
We've only looked at the one.
Okay,
There's less information on the other one, which is smaller and has less developable area,
Oh, okay, so it's an easy decision on which one.
I think.
That sounds good.
They're
Yeah.
both, I believe, quite developable.
Right, but if one's more, then.
One,
And they're both the same price.
Well, we wanna be able to maybe get the duplex in, so we want to be able
They're very,
Yeah.
in the same price, that seems like.
Okay,
You can bid on one and not the other, right? That doesn't,
Yeah,
just waive the right of first refusal for the other one.
yeah, if no one has any money at the town level to buy them both. So assuming the town does want to exercise its right of first refusal on both, then the town needs $440,000. Where's the town gonna get the $440,000? You know, what are you buying it for? Municipal use, open space, affordable housing? So where are you gonna get the money from? And absent CPA,
Mhm.
which you need an actual town meeting,
Right,
Um,
which is how you get.
yeah,
Okay.
then,
Sounds like it's up our alley. It's right up our alley, so, yeah.
so what we would do if we were to proceed is we would vote to write a letter, vote to send a letter.
asking the Board of Selectmen to exercise the town's right of first refusal on,
Lot B.
yeah, parcel B, 10 Morse Road.
Okay. And with the intention of purchasing it, developing affordable housing.
1 to 2 units
Affordable housing.
of affordable housing,
Okay,
using $220,000 the Affordable Housing Trust
and
has on
then,
hand.
and then the selectmen,
Yeah, with the
or
RFP. Yeah.
the select board would approve or disapprove it. And then
You know,
if it
or
was
actually, and I don't
approved-
know what their exact mechanism is for exercising it. Presumably you would, you know, send a letter to, you know, there's some document to, you know, the owner saying, we're exercising our right of first refusal, and here we go.
There wouldn't be any deadline or anything of converting that from a lot to a family. Like that process can take.
Well, it's already zoned residential, so.
Yeah, the
Right.
lot, I'm sorry, yeah.
No, but I mean, it could stay a lot, you know, just, we could just own the land for a year.
We
and
could,
then
yeah.
develop it if we needed
Yeah.
to.
Yeah,
Or if it falls through, it's a asset that we have that could get sold if we then decide, okay, maybe it doesn't make sense.
we'd have to use it for, affordable housing though, because we'd be
Okay.
using affordable housing funds.
Okay.
So we'd have, that,
You
Yeah.
couldn't,
you couldn't use it for something else. Maybe, but that would be a huge problem. I think no. You know, I think technically yes, realistically no. You'd have to go through all sorts of like,
I'm just thinking like
Special things.
contingencies or whatever, you
Yeah.
may-
Right.
that's not a contingency then.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion that we write,
Yeah,
we
and
send the
what are
letter
we-
to
what
the
do we have to
Well,
select.
do?
I feel like it's kind of low risk at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that's the first step, we don't,
and the select board could say no.
so do we need some kind of vote?
I would say a motion, a second, and a vote.
I second.
Okay,
All in favor?
okay. Thank you.
You'll write up a letter with the information that you, for due diligence that you, yeah.
Yeah, and the select board can decide or not.
Yeah, okay.
It's possible, pending my conversation with town council on Tuesday, that maybe there's another step we need to do.
Mhm.
Seems like a good first step.
Yeah. And it seems like a good opportunity to create family housing with, requirements in the RFP that it be really attractive and contribute to the neighborhood,
Mhm.
especially given the historic district, and,
Yeah,
you know, the materials and appearance could really work well with it as opposed to an unattractive McMansion.
right.
So I think we could really make it work for the neighbors.
Could be great.
That looks really
Yeah.
a nice looking property.
Under 3,000 square feet, right, is that typically?
Yeah, for
right?
a
That's what we're
single
thinking,
family house,
for a single
and-
family, yeah.
You know,
What is
for
it?
Under 3,000 is what you said.
under 3,000 square foot footprint for one house, for a single family house, does not trigger natural heritage
Right,
endangered species
right.
review.
Yeah,
And, you know, so the question would be, you know, hello, natural heritage, we're actually proposing a duplex, but it's still less than 3,000 square foot footprint total. And we'll see if, and then, you know, see if,
Rockland was 21 each.
yeah, I mean, you can get, you know, nicely sized 3-bedroom capes,
Mhm.
that really fit in with the neighborhood.
I drove down there for no apparent reason a few months ago, and cemetery there. I'm always interested in those, but there are a couple of nice properties there.
It is, yeah. There's a lot of the residents are working with the historical commission to bring to town meeting in May a local historic district. It's called the Hayward Pool. There's like 8 properties of 18th and 19th century houses, really quite attractive.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's neat. It's a beautiful neighborhood, great neighbors. And I think this could be developed in a way that it's an asset
Mhm.
and really fits in nicely.
Sounds cool.
Action items? Can we just go back, 3 Eisenhower, Nikki, we just sort of tabled the debrief for when you were here
Oh, okay.
from another time, and I would say let's push that to next month, and.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, great.
I think it could, I think it
That
would
works.
be worth giving it a lot of time.
Yeah,
That's why I say
absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was.
there's a lot of
and
lessons
getting
learned.
us up to
Yeah.
speed on all the
Well
things that
said.
you guys did that I didn't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, well said.
Okay, so action items,
Horse lot letter.
right?
And possibly, blasting out some bullet points from the action
Mhm.
plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be good.
PNS on Quanticut and appraisal and everything that, just got that.
And then lining up the select board vote.
Mm-hmm.
Follow up with the other tax title parcel. on
Oh, right,
electric.
on
Yeah.
electric?
Turns out there's another tax title parcel that's still in limbo on electric. So I can follow up on that. We also might want to think about, affordable housing concentrations.
Mm-hmm.
Because this would, there's 2 on electric, which is a small street.
As a good or a bad thing?
As a neutral thing, but I think, something to think about.
Is there any way to utilize like state grant money when you have a concentration of
Not in any
40R
useful way.
kind of?
Well, for 40R we do, and we
Do
do
we have
have
any
some.
40R here?
Oh, yeah,
We do?
Queeset.
I researched it today at work. We were just
Ah,
talking
yes.
about
I'm happy to talk more if you want in plain English.
Cool.
Yeah, give me a jingle. I know,
It's so true.
I know a surprisingly large amount about 40R, yeah.
You said that CPC meeting on the 24th.
that.
Yes.
7.
Yep.
Or in your living room on Facebook.
All right.
That just seems.
Or your bathroom, wherever you're using Facebook. Right?
Okay.
Could be an interesting meeting.
So all this stuff.
And we should talk about the next meeting. Right now, our default is Thursday, November 7th, but Stephanie's classes are Tuesdays, Thursdays.
I'm coming from Boston on Wednesdays and Thursdays. I'm not coming from Boston on Tuesdays.
Let's do Tuesdays.
On Tuesdays,
But
I'm-
then Stephanie still can't make it.
When is she? She's
Which
on
day again?
Wednesday. You
Wednesday,
said
I think.
Tuesday and Thursday there.
Yeah, she can't do Tuesday, Thursday.
Well, maybe she'll have a different schedule in January?
Maybe?
Wednesdays
I
are my
think
leisure.
for our
day, but-
chair,
I
it's the
might-
day she's not.
I might
That
have a
trumps
different
it to me.
schedule in January. I might switch things up and be home on Thursdays. But
So we'd be looking
anyways,
at just the November and December
Yeah.
meetings on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Make it easier to
Yeah.
get done.
I'm home. I'm in Easton, so I won't be late.
It's just 2 meetings.
So you don't wanna do November 5th, because that's
Oh,
the
it's
election, and we can't do it on the 5th, because
No.
you can't have it on an election
Can we do,
And town
can we do
meeting
it
is
on
on
the
the 12th.
19th or the 26th?
Yeah,
of November.
I mean, I know that's so late, but we don't want it on the 12th,
Yeah.
we're getting that vote. Right, or the
Is
5th,
the town
the 5th
meeting.
is the vote, the special town meeting is the 12th. There's no other Tuesdays,
And then,
Oh, that kind of,
yeah, the 20,
it's gonna be.
I'm liking Tuesday the 26th, to be honest. And then that might be it for December as
And then
well.
maybe we don't.
you don't think
hang
we'll
on.
have something to do for
We might,
Morse and?
we might actually.
why
Should
not?
we
But
do a
if we
special
do, we
meeting
could do a
too?
special meeting and just get, you know, the bare minimum of 4 people who can show up.
Why not the 19th?
Well, I've
The fact that
theoretically,
it's 3 in a row, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
and I've got a historical commission meeting on the
Tuesday's
19th.
free.
Tuesday is all right.
I've got a meeting that night on the
Okay.
19th.
26th.
If we
so
could do it early,
Thanksgiving
I
is
mean,
what?
if we like wanted to bang this thing out at 5, and then I could move on to my 6:30 meeting
I could do
on
that.
the 19th.
That would work.
On the 19th?
If that's doable, Tuesday, November 19,
Sorry,
That's
at like
fine.
5?
Yeah.
Not so much
I'm
for you.
trying Not so much, no.
No.
But I can, yeah, it's kind of
Can
a
you
day,
Facebook
day
Live it?
thing. Try that.
But if
But if there's enough of you,
there's
you know.
5 of us that can definitely do 5, I mean,
Go for it,
assuming
yeah.
Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah,
extent no
Okay.
changes.
I can try and then, you know, doesn't.
Right, so we're going with the 19th at 5.
The 26th is, Thanksgiving is the 28th, is that
Yeah.
what I'm seeing?
Yeah, so
So, you know,
maybe
it's
Yeah,
it's
the
kinda-
better,
26th is
yeah,
the
better to
busiest
try to
year.
get it on the 19th,
Right.
'cause
Pretty close.
Yeah.
people could be, traveling with them around, but
Tuesday, November 19th at 5 o'clock.
5, I just put in, that sounds great.
And I will confirm that we can get a meeting room somewhere.
Okay. Thank you.
Maybe here. Sometimes people meet at Queesit, by the way. Queesit,
Yeah,
Queesit House.
We did that once, right?
Yeah, I think we've done that once. Yeah,
Special meeting,
yeah,
Yeah.
the only time I've ever been in there.
yeah. It's neat.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful building and a
Yeah.
great community resource.
It really is.
Yeah, we're blessed and lucky to have that place.
CPA, right? It's part of it,
Yes,
right?
it's a big part
The
of it.
garden was CPA.
Yeah, I love that
So
garden.
many amazing projects.
So we meet at Frothingham too?
We can do that as well.
But Queesit, yeah, it's
Yeah,
lovely.
yeah.
Yeah.
There are other places besides Town Hall.
Yep.
It's like easier, I think, for Town Hall because it's kind of set up for it. And
Right.
it's easier for the,
Right.
AV guys. For Frothingham, they have to like haul out actual equipment.
Right, right.
And I have to remember the code for the door,
Yeah, we just need to
Yeah, no, this is great.
but
Did we say here, though? Or
it depends
Yeah.
if there's room availability because they book
I
out.
see.
That's another,
So you'll check and let us know.
yeah, and you may recall like late in the year or the beginning of the year, you'll get like this omnibus email from Wayne about when our meetings are for the year ahead.
Yeah.
You're
That's
like,
why.
whatever, and that's why, because it's like, I have to book the rooms a year out,
Okay.
because competition gets hot.
Should another action plan be sometime in the next chunk of time, following up with Stephanie, checking with
Yeah.
me again about what 2020 days might look like? We're thinking of if you're gonna be getting ready to book.
Yep.
I don't know.
Just shout out to Stephanie, do you have your spring semester schedule yet?
I mean, just a thought, you don't have to, but I'm just thinking if we're getting to that, by the time we sit down in November, January will feel.
I can do that, I
Reasonably
can
close.
reach out to her.
Oh, that would be great, yeah, because I feel terrible, I mean, she's just so great to have,
Yeah.
and
No, I'll.
we keep
I'll
meeting
make
all
it-
night, she just can't do it,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you, yeah.
Okay. Do it as soon as we leave here, so. Won't forget.
Okay,
Are we all set?
I think so, right?
Yeah? Okay.
Motion and
Motion
second?
to adjourn?
Yeah.
Second?
Okay. All in favor?
Seven
Thank you.
46.